initially I had my first ever epileptic seizure in November 2006, and following an MRI scan I was diagnosed with a grade 2 glioma in January 2007. From there I had went through the usual watch and wait process in scans on a 6-monthly basis until scan came back with an anomaly in January of 2010. I had a biopsy in the March of 2010 which showed it had changed to a grade 3 astrocytoma. Once I knew it was grade 3, I had an appointment to see my surgeon. I sat and spoke to him along with my parents and my wife for probably the best part of an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours. And I was offered an awake craniotomy, but because of the location of my tumour, there's quite a large chance of paralysis to my right-hand side. And in 2010, my daughter was 5, and my little boy would have been maybe 6-7 months old at the time. And the surgeon said he'd got, 2 young children, a little older, probably 11 and 8, and he couldn't make the moral decision. And eventually, and he never rushed me, never pushed for an answer, we discussed every single outcome. I chose to, at that point, reject the surgery and have radiotherapy, as I didn't want to come out of surgery and have some sort of paralysis, whether it be, movement down my right-hand side or speech impediment or sight, while I've got 2 young children. When I was first diagnosed, I had some counselling from Macmillan, and I had a support worker come out, and obviously straight away you're diagnosed, everybody's on the internet. So I was saying I wanted to know what it was, how long I'd got, and things like that. And we all know statistics is sort of 10% of men from initial diagnosis, you're looking at 5 years at best. And I discussed writing 18 birthday cards for my daughter, but then I was thinking, well, if she's only, when I was diagnosed, if she's only 2 now, and I've got 5 years, then she's 7, I can't write her an 18th birthday card because I don't know if she's passed a driving test, I don't know, and you think along those lines. And she saw me have my first seizure when she was probably 3.5, and she's always been really bright and intelligent and sort of ahead of herself. So at 4, she knew her daddy had got a poorly head, and I requested me scan pictures from Leeds, and they quite happily gave me copies, and I sat down with my daughter and said, look, these are the pictures of Daddy's head. What does that look like to you? That's what's inside my head. That's why it's poorly. And she said, looks like a cloud, Daddy. So to her, it was a cloud until she got to probably 6. And at 6, she started asking questions like, how's that cloud got inside your head, Daddy? Can I get a cloud in my head? Did it go in through your ear? And lots of difficult questions to answer. And again, me and my wife discussed it, and all through the process she has known what's happening and what it is. So again, I had the Macmillan counsellor out, and over a period of 6 weeks we took her from it being a cloud to it being a brain tumour, which is a form of cancer. Bad cells in your body. Some people have good cells, some people have bad cells. It's the luck of the draw. And she now has a mobile phone, so that if she's ever alone with me, because she's 9 in about 4 weeks, if I have a seizure, she will call 999. She can explain to them that I've got a brain tumour, that I'm having a seizure, where I am. From there, she'll call the mum. For the first 3 years of diagnosis, until probably after the radiotherapy, I was on Epilin as my main epilepsy medication, and every time I had seizures, it were grand mal seizures. So she'd seen them. Now I've been moved on to Keppra and lacosamide and clonazepam as a mixture of 3. I only have sort of complex partials, so I am fully conscious. I just lose the use of my right hand side, and I can sort of wave to with my left hand. I can mumble things, and she's quite confident. I had one where I was took into Barnsley A&E, where me and my wife had gone to bed at sort of 11 o'clock at night, and I just started with silly noises, just like... And that went on for about 5 hours, and they'd never seen anything like it in the A&E department in hospital. It's what happens now if I have a seizure, and touch wood, the last one I had was February, so it was 7 months, and before that it was 17 months. So the medication that I'm on now works a lot better, because before you could say probably 4 or 5 grand miles a year. I spoke to my oncology doctor. I also spoke to Sam Wilson, who now works for BTRS, was my specialist oncology nurse, Leeds, before she started working for BTRS, regarding gamma knife and proton therapy. It's just because of the type of tumour I have and its location, none of that treatment is suitable and would not affect any future outcomes or help in any way. Never really got into the trials, but I did question about whether, that would be suitable. I had the radiotherapy in May and June 2010, and since then, every scan I have had, which I was on 3 monthlies to start with, then they were extended to 4, I'm now on 6 monthlies, so I've got my next scan in about 2 weeks. It's been stable, no change whatsoever. So, looking back, I did make the right decision to go for the surgery, but, everybody's different. It's just you've got to make that choice, and I made the choice for my wife and children. Things that I've struggled with, and again, this is post-radiotherapy, is short-term memory. Long-term memory, I'm fine. I do jumble words up, which the kids find hilarious. All things like, and this is something that I said about 3 weeks ago. I said, well, you go and sit on your dinner while your mum next sofa. Right? And it's just mixing words up in sentences. Happens quite a lot. And when we moved into this property, which was probably 2 months after my radiotherapy, we had a new kitchen put in about a month later. And the cupboard where I kept my medication is now where the fridge is. And the fridge, where my medication cupboard was every morning, I go in the fridge for my tablets, because the cupboard's next to it. They've only swapped places by one cupboard. And speaking to occupational therapy at Leeds, what they said is, in people's brains, you have got a 3-month temporary memory, and all the information you soak up, new information, is stored in that temporary memory for 3 months before it transfers to your memory and stays there long term. So that switch being in that 3 months, I'd got it logged in by then, which cupboard my medication was in, and I still do that, and this is 4 years, after radiotherapy.
If you were to talk to someone else that's just been diagnosed with a grade 3, what would you say to them?
Getting in touch with somebody like BTRS and attending their support group meetings helped a hell of a lot, because you meet new friends, people that's in your situation who understand how you feel. Because no matter how much I speak to friends, my wife, parents, family, it's impossible to explain, and you'll know this, obviously, Claire, what you're thinking constantly all the time. And attending a support group like that, whether it be once every 3 months or whether you go monthly, things like that, I found writing things down helped a hell of a lot. I mean, I wrote a poem in June 2011, so a year post-radiotherapy, and I think I'd been off steroids, off the steroid treatment for the swelling and stuff, about 2 months, and I was really down and really depressed. And I went and laid on the landing in between the children's bedrooms, and I've got a notepad and loads of bits of paper, and I'm just scribbling lines and lines down. And then out of them, I fashioned a poem that I put on Facebook back in June 2011. And then I met Sue Regglesworth from Brain Tumour UK, who looks after the North West and Midlands region, at a patient information day in Leeds. And she'd seen it and asked if she could publish it in the North West and Midlands newsletter. So that went in there. So, and then from there, because when I had the radiotherapy, I was told I had roughly 18 months. Somebody had stamped a used by Christmas 2012 sticker on me. And that's how, when they said you've got 18 months, I was like, right, I've got to get all this done by that time. And then when that passed, in 2013, because I'd put a lot of weight on with the steroids through the radiotherapy treatment, I lost for about 4 stone. So in 2013, I lost 4.5 stone. In January this year, I stopped smoking. And I am probably feeling as well as I have felt since I was diagnosed in 2007 research. But, like I said, once I got past that sort of gave me, a renewed sense of hope and stuff like that. And the main thing I've struggled with in the last 2 weeks is because I stopped work in September 2009 through mutual contract termination with my employer because I was getting ill towards the end of 2009, and then obviously in 2010 the scan showed why. Is my little boy's just started school, and he's been in nursery from being 3, and he would do 9 while 12, and then he'd be home. And I now, the first week he were at school, I felt terrible because he's got an extra 3.5 hours at school, and I feel that's 3.5 hours that I'm missing out. And my daughter, because my daughter started school just after I'd had the radiotherapy and stuff, I was ill at that point with the radiotherapy. So it didn't sort of register as much when she started as it has now. Like, you've just got to carry on through whatever you're feeling, whatever you feel like. There's other people that you've got to consider. They're looking after you. You've got to give back to them as much as they're giving to you.